She stood in the doorway like a stranger, her eyes sharp and triumphant, as if she had already won something I didn't even know we were fighting over. Her voice was cold, rehearsed, and dripping with confidence. "I want the safe key," she said. "It's all mine anyway." For a moment, I honestly thought she was joking. We had been married for 9 years. 9 years of shared responsibilities, shared sacrifices, shared struggles. The safe wasn't just a metal box hidden behind a false wall in our bedroom closet. It was where we kept everything important: documents, emergency cash, heirlooms, and things that represented years of careful planning, things I thought belonged to us. But the way she said it, "It's all mine," told me everything had already changed. Her name was Laura. When I met her, she was warm, ambitious, and endlessly supportive. I was building my career from the ground up, working long hours, taking risks, sometimes failing. She used to tell me she believed in me when I didn't believe in myself. That belief became the foundation of our marriage, or at least that's what I thought. Over time, I became the stable one. I handled finances, investments, savings, not because I didn't trust her, but because she didn't want the stress. "You're better with numbers," she used to say, smiling. I believed her. I believed everything. The safe was my idea, not out of paranoia, but responsibility. I grew up watching my parents lose everything because they trusted the wrong people and never prepared for worst-case scenarios. I promised myself I'd never repeat that mistake. Laura agreed at the time. She even joked, "You and your disaster plans." Somewhere along the way, her jokes stopped sounding affectionate. The shift didn't happen overnight. It started quietly. New friends I never met, late nights that came with vague explanations, a sudden obsession with independence. She stopped asking questions about our future and started making statements about hers. Still, I didn't suspect what was coming. That afternoon, when she demanded the safe key, there was no anger in her voice, no desperation, just entitlement. "Why?" I asked calmly. She crossed her arms. "Because I'm done pretending. I know what's in there. The accounts, the cash, the documents. I deserve it." I noticed something then. She didn't say we. She didn't say ours. She said mine. I could have argued. I could have refused. I could have reminded her of everything I contributed, everything I sacrificed, but instead, I reached into my pocket, took out the small brass key, and placed it in her palm. Her smile was instant and smug. She looked at me like I was weak, like I had finally accepted my place. She walked straight to the closet, knelt down, and slid the key into the lock with shaking excitement. She didn't even try to hide it. This wasn't about security. It was about victory. When she opened the safe, her smile froze. Inside were documents, neatly arranged, clearly labeled, but not what she expected. The cash was gone. The investment certificates were gone. The jewelry, the emergency funds, the backups, gone. All that remained were copies, legal papers, and a single envelope with her name on it. Her hands trembled as she pulled it out and opened it. I watched quietly as she read, her face drained of color line by line. "What is this?" she whispered. "It's the truth," I said. Months earlier, I had noticed the changes. Not proof of betrayal, but patterns, enough to make me cautious. I consulted a lawyer, not to attack her, but to protect myself. I learned something important. Preparation isn't betrayal. It's survival. I had moved the assets legally. Not hidden, not stolen. Protected. Trusts, separate accounts, safeguards that ensured nothing could be taken without consent from both parties or without consequences. The documents explained everything. The envelope contained a summary of what belonged to whom and what would happen if one party attempted to claim ownership through manipulation or coercion. It also contained a copy of the post-nuptial agreement she had signed years earlier without reading carefully. The one that stated entitlement only applied in the case of mutual agreement or court order. She turned toward me, panic replacing arrogance. "You planned this?" "No," I replied. "I prepared for reality." She tried to yell, but her voice cracked. She accused me of deception, of betrayal, of planning behind her back. The irony was overwhelming. "You demanded the key," I said quietly. "You told me it was all yours. That tells me everything I needed to know." She slumped onto the bed, suddenly small, suddenly unsure. The confidence she walked in with collapsed into fear. "What am I supposed to do now?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. I thought about the years I spent believing in us, believing in her, believing that love meant ignoring warning signs. "You're supposed to face the consequences of your choices," I said finally. She tried to cry then. Real tears or strategic ones, I'll never know, but something inside me had gone still. Not angry, not hurt, just done. That night, she packed a bag. Not because I told her to, but because she realized she no longer had control. Power had shifted, not through force, but through foresight. The divorce wasn't dramatic, no screaming matches, no courtroom theatrics, just paperwork, timelines, and quiet finality. She walked away with what was fair, not what she tried to take. Months later, I heard through mutual friends that she told people I tricked her, that I was cold, calculated, heartless. I didn't correct them, because the truth didn't need defending. I learned something important from all of this. Betrayal doesn't always look like cheating or screaming fights. Sometimes it looks like entitlement, like someone deciding they deserve everything simply because they want it. When she demanded the safe key and said, "It's all mine," she wasn't just talking about money. She was revealing how she saw the marriage, and when I handed it over, I wasn't surrendering. I was letting her expose herself. And in that moment, when the safe opened and her illusion shattered, I finally understood that protecting yourself doesn't make you cruel. It makes you free.